Okay, so we got our answer to who the killer is in the season finale of Sharp Objects. Fair warning, there's spoilers in this review. If you haven't seen it, leave now and then come back after you've watched. Unless you want to be spoiled, of course. So everyone who called Amma, including myself, was correct that she was the killer. It was revealed in an awesome way, which we are going to get to in a second, but I want to break down this episode from the beginning, per usual. So this episode opens with Camille arriving home, and it opens with this dinner scene with Camille, Alan, Adora, and Amma. The thing that frustrates me about this show so much is it has amped up endings of their episodes, and then it leads into a very toned down beginning of the next episode. It just feels out of sync in a way, and it was glaring as an issue here for me. From having such a build up last week at the end, with everyone hitting a breaking point, with Amma being super sick, Alan having the knife in his hand in turmoil, and then Camille finding out about her mom, it just didn't even feel like the same show when they got to where she got to the house. It was like a different start, and like that didn't even happen. And the show's done this a couple times now, and it's very frustrating, especially for a finale. But there was some really good dialogue in this scene at the dinner table, and you had little hints again about who the killer was here, now that we know it's Amma. Like when Camille says in the scene that she doesn't think the killer's John, and Amma starts to squirm down in her seat, and then Amma immediately goes into why she thinks he should get the death penalty. So these are glaring hints that she wants the focus put on John and not herself. And I love throughout this scene is Camille just giving Adora a death stare because she knows now what Adora has done and what she's up to with Amma. And she gets her shots in at Adora. Amma mentions here the story about the woman in white, and Adora's like, I don't like that one. And Camille goes, too close to home? So she got her shot. And then Amma actually goes into her outfit now being revealed as Persephone, the wife of Hades and the queen of the underworld. And this all goes into her saying how she doesn't like the princess getting rescued cliche, and she likes people like Persephone. Also sort of a hint in a way to her mindset and her view of the traditional female roles and wanting control. And it really adds to this great character building they've done with Amma throughout this show, leading to her psychotic reveal. And then there's an important line here where Amma says to Camille, would you be more sad if I died or John died? And it was almost like a weird confession in a way Amma's doing to Camille, where she wants to know, no matter what she does, would Camille still have her back? And it's also at the same time taking a stab at her annoyance of Camille's protection of John Keane. So Camille suggests Amma stays with her in St. Louis, and of course Alan and Adora downplay this idea pretty fast, and Adora immediately shifts the attention to Amma being sick and not looking good, but Camille reacts to this and fakes herself being sick. And now this is opening the door for her chance to finally protect a younger sister figure in her life, and she's going for it. And Adora takes this bait immediately. And just like that, Camille's in Adora's bedroom. She's putting the white gown again. Now she's playing on her mom's sickness. And it's the first time Camille takes the medicine in the blue bottle. And the mom, at that moment, finally says to her, you are such a good girl. Something she's probably never said to Camille. What a psychopath. And I love how Camille's like, more mama. Just playing all the notes she knows the mom loves to hear. And now imagine if you're in Camille's shoes and knowing your mom is poisoning you and pushing through that. Absolutely insane. And this whole sequence really worked for me, especially maybe my favorite flash of the whole show was when, after Dora leaves the room and puts Camille to bed, Camille gets a flash of her putting her finger in a fan as a kid, starting that cutting sensation right there. With all the fans we've seen, people debating the symbolism of it. I mean, that's pointing to that clearly in the effect of it being about sharp objects and cutting. So I thought that worked great, and that was a classic example of when a show has the perfect flashes that work and doesn't overdo them, which I've complained about at points, but this was one that was spot on and useful. So Willis and Vickery interrogate John Keane, and then they have a nice scene in the staircase together. It ends with a great line with Detective Willis worried about them looking at the wrong half of town here and the wrong side of the story. And this really highlighted how much detectives and cops have to go through their gut instincts with things like this, and you could tell as much as Vickery wants it a certain way to be, he deep down knows he's wrong. And I thought that this episode really put a spotlight on how great Vickery's character was during the season, and his character arc especially, and the constant debate in your head of is this guy good or not. And deep down I really do think he is, but it goes to the last minute, and I think he finally is the guy. With all cards against him, he does cave in for the better good. At least I hope to think that. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on their observations of Vickery as a whole during the season. Now, an odd scene that was in the finale here to me was when Alan runs into Vickery at the barbershop. Alan gets his digs into Vickery for all the time he spends with Adora. And Vickery's asking about Amma being sick, but I felt like this scene was completely unnecessary, especially in a finale, and especially in a disappointingly short finale that ran about only 45 minutes long. This scene is just, why are you throwing this in? It almost felt like a deleted scene in a way. It's not like we got any resolution with these two anyway, so I don't see the point of scenes like this. So we see Camille is super sick now, and we see Alan in the kitchen with the door, and he's still suggesting her to not use all this medicine, let the girls just rest on their own and let the body take its course. And then he kind of just pulls back and he says to Dora, fine, it's your area to take care of them. I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's so frustrating with Alan's character. He really is just, at the basis of this all, such a pushover and Adora's pet here. And his arc to me was kind of frustrating and weak because I don't think it was clear enough and exactly why he puts Adora over everything and where this might have been rooted from. I just feel like we didn't have enough time with him to really understand what the hell is going on with Alan. And at this point in the finale, in fitting fashion with this show, it's still frustratingly slow. And sometimes you just wanted to pick up the pace of it, especially because we know it's a limited series. This is the last episode. Come on already. You just feel this slow momentum turning, and it almost affects it in a negative way because there's a lot of stuff you feel like we could have sifted through and got to the good stuff quicker. So Camille sees Amma, and Camille's in a really bad state. Amma's in a little better of a state because now Adora's attention is fully on Camille, and Camille tells Amma to go get Detective Willis and get help, and she tells Amma not to come back. But what's frustrating about this plan of Camille's is, why didn't she just go get Willis herself after the dinner and bring the cops there? I get the idea of her plan here, but wasn't that the safer, easier route? And if it was all just to confirm that it was poison in that blue bottle before she made any accusations, why didn't she just take a little bit of it and then bounce and go to the police? I mean, the only argument I could see of the rationale of Camille was that there was that side of her that wanted to do it all herself and almost have this martyr effect to it and to get her full-on revenge on Adora, but I didn't think it was the most believable reaction someone would have to something like this. Especially because she was coming in hot at the end of the last episode and then can kind of just bring it back a bit and do the slow approach to get her caught when Amma was clearly already poisoned and all the evidence is right there. So why not just go get Willis yourself? So in the bathtub scene of Camille and Adora, Adora tells the story of her mother abandoning her in the woods and thinking it was okay and it was good for her. And this might be the only ounce of sympathy ever given to us for Adora, as awful as a person she is. Now we get explained that she really did have a horrible childhood. And she says a line, we've all had bad childhoods. You gotta move on or you're just being selfish. But what's so hypocritical about this is Adora clearly hasn't handled this in a healthy way, and because of her just throwing it all to the rug, it's made her almost a psychopath because she doesn't deal with the problems in her life. She almost decides to just repeat them and just accept that's what it is. And then when Camille dunked her head in the water, did anyone for a second think she might be thinking about committing suicide? Because I felt that way and it scared me to death. But then the doorbell rang, thank God, and she got up. But it starts feeling silly when Camille's crawling out of the tub. It kind of reminded me of the scene in Wolf of Wall Street when Leo DiCaprio's character is crawling on the floor with Quaaludes, where why would she keep knowingly taking this medicine? She's had enough at this point. You can just say no to the mom. I know the mom's crazy and forceful, but there's still a way to do it. Just don't take it. Like, you've proven your point, and then it's really taking me out of this being a realistic scenario with Camille. And she's like yelling, help me, help me. It's like, oh, I just felt like this was the show's own doing of setting this up just to have this scenario, but not actually how the story would flow in a realistic way. So Willis knocks on the door, basically told by Alan, there's nothing going on here. And we see Amma didn't actually leave and get him. And she's like, I need to stay. I'm a good girl. Amma's clearly stuck under Adora's spell, and she's more prone to this because she's younger. She doesn't fully understand. This is still her mother who she loves. So they did a really good job with Amma and Adora here, and we'll get to that later with the flash forward we see with them, which I thought was super effective. So Camille's in bad shape, lying on the floor, looking up at the chandelier, and she gets flashes of Marion here almost when she's close to her death at this point, and then police lights flicker. And I really love just the way they showed her seeing Marion, and like she finally got a win here and justice for her sister. And it really just showed how effective the show was at building up sisterly love and sisterly figures in life, and how important that kind of love is, and how this was Camille facing her fears and letting go of her guilt of what happened to Marion. So it was a really beautiful scene, and a bunch of emotions worked here. And Amy Adams, again, incredible acting. And then Willis and Camille's boss run in, and it's the first time Detective Willis is seeing these scars, so he's taken back a bit. And you gotta love the boss covering her up right away. He literally is the best dude. So Willis finds the bloody pliers, which is huge, in the kitchen. And that's basically all signs pointing to Adora killing these two girls. And there's nothing Vicar can do at this point. He's kind of folded his cards and realized, like, he was in the wrong. And he can't protect Adora anymore. So there is a point where he does break. Because I would have been super frustrated at him if he just stood there and kept fighting with Willis about it. And like, oh, we still need to give her a trial and all this stuff. You kind of got it, finally. So Amma still freaks at the sight of her mom getting taken away in cuffs. Obviously, you could say, oh, the mom was making her sick. Why does she feel this way? But it's always tougher, like I said, on a younger age person. This will never make sense to her why this is happening. So at the hospital, Detective Willis is there with Camille and Amma. And he says they found the pliers matched the gums of the girls and that they're going to charge the mom on the death of the girls, too. But Camille reminds him and says she pulled the teeth, too, alone. And he's an important line where he's like, she might have had an accomplice. Maybe Alan. We're going to investigate. I love this convo's happening right in front of Amma because Amma knows she's the one who killed these girls. And this also leads to my theory that Alan actually was an accomplice, but not to Adora, but to Amma. And that I don't believe Amma pulled those teeth. I think she had help with Alan, and that's why Alan was losing his mind, because he couldn't handle this information he knew about Amma. I think that would make perfect sense, and that line was our big hint. And we find out Adora was using antifreeze and rat poison. That is crazy. And then they said Amma built up a tolerance to it, but Camille did not. I don't know if this was a slight way of them justifying why Camille went through the approach she did to get Adora caught. That, oh, maybe it wouldn't have showed enough in Amma, but that still didn't work for me. I don't know how you guys felt about that. So then Willis says to Camille, sorry for everything. And she says sorry too, and it's a nice moment. And then Amma says, what a D word. Amma really has the best lines here. But that's it for Willis? And did that really fit for Camille to also laugh at that? I get it from Amma's angle, but I feel like Willis got the short end of the stick here. I mean, he was the one who figured out the poisoning that was going on from Adora, and he was the one who called Curry. So if it wasn't for him, none of this would have happened. So I wasn't crazy about that reaction. Sure, he was a jerk to Camille at the end there, but he also helped save their lives. So now we're going to jump forward in time a bit, and I think this all led to the best parts of the finale. Everything in the future here. This couldn't have been done better to me. We see Amma moves in with Camille in St. Louis. And I love they show a shot of the dollhouse kind of out of focus right away to remind you that that's there. Also reminding you something is still up because we're thinking it's just all Adora at this point. And then we see this whole sequence. Amma makes a new friend. I love how this whole sequence is working, them being happy and things feel normal. It's new life. They're both excited. And a nice touch here, another hint about Amma is when Amma's roller skating with her new friend in the alleyway, Amma does like a fake strangling of herself as a joke. That happens to be her move she used on Ann Nash, so that was a hint right there. I like the light piano playing through this sequence, and that they kind of tricked you and pitched this first as a happy-go-lucky ending epilogue that you'd read in a book. And then what a beautiful camera shot of Amma talking to Adora through a screen at the jail, and in the background, Camille is just walking by, fading away out the window. Her not talking to Adora, and Amma is crying there to Adora. It definitely was the best shot of the show for me yet. I actually rewinded that a couple times because it was so beautiful in the way it presented everything. And then Jackie sees Camille and Amma at the jail, and I'm starting to think Camille was a little hard on Jackie and was misread a bit. It doesn't help that Amma was hammering home how much she doesn't like Jackie because we know Amma was the killer. But is Jackie really so bad? It really is up for debate, and I like this scene to me open that door for people. So it actually felt like closure for me for Jackie was the one. How much did she do? Did she really never do enough? Is she that bad of a person? It really, another thing I'm curious about for people to talk about what they think of Jackie O'Neil as a character. Like I said, this whole back half of this finale just kept going with great scenes, and Curry reading final article was beautiful with some amazing writing here. So he reads in the article, I've forgiven myself for failing to save my sister and given myself up to raise another. And the best line, am I good at caring for Amma because of kindness, or am I good at it because I have Adora's sickness? Brilliant writing here, and I teared up here at Curry's reaction when he's like, can a person be quiet for a second? He's so moved by it. And he's like, it's beautiful, Cubby, it's really beautiful. He believed in this girl, and he's seeing his reward for having faith in her and seeing almost like this dying flower bloom again. Okay, so then we get a big dinner scene here at Curry's place. Big. And it's really important to watch the scene again because it's all about the friend here that Amma made. Because the friend tells Curry, she reads editorial, and he loves this. And then the friend milks it even more and says, I'm thinking about going into journalism or politics. And Amma says, you just say that to impress Camille, and calls her a kiss-up. And there it is. The whole psyche of Amma is shown right there, folks. She doesn't like any attention taken away from her loved ones. The reason she killed Anne and Natalie was because Adora was giving them too much attention and not her. And the reason she killed this friend at the table was it was a threat to her attention with Camille. And her way of taking care of this problem is murder. And it's almost like a bad side effect of having way too much attention growing up from an overbearing mother like Adora, that she still picks up that she still wants a lot of attention. And if it's going somewhere else, she's going to get super angry. And we get even more big hints at this point about Amma, where when she's in her bed, you see her notebook covers the same white and pink flowers that were also the same white and pink flowers on her phone case the last episode, and the same white and pink flowers are on Ann Nash's bike. So it's almost like she keeps little mementos of the people she's killed, hinting at also why she would keep the teeth in the dollhouse, in true serial killer fashion. And then she asks Camille if she wants her to be a writer, which is almost off-putting to Camille. Like, why is this coming up now after that whole dinner? And then Amma says, you make me happy, I can eat you up. And this freaks Camille out. This is literally Adora talking through Amma. And there's also a picture perfectly right there of Amma and Adora right on the mantle. So right there you're like, oh my god, Amma really isn't seeing how awful Adora really was. So this gets even crazier because the mom and the friend the next day comes to Camille's place and says her daughter was last seen with Amma and is missing and hasn't seen her. So clearly Amma's killed this girl because of the threat of attention from Camille. And I love how they did this whole last scene. The way Camille just finds that piece of the dollhouse in the garbage, wants to just put it back, and sees Natalie Keene figure sitting outside the window. Just like when Camille found her in that alleyway. It was perfect how that translated, because Camille had already experienced that, but now she's experiencing it through the dollhouse. And it was a great way to justify Camille looking into this dollhouse. They needed a good reason for that to happen. And I thought that was perfectly believable. And then we see the teeth as the ivory floor of Adora's room. The big twist, the big reveal. And then Amma walks in, don't tell mama. What a twist. I loved that ending. And I loved it ended with Zeppelin. And it's so crazy too, because Amma knows her mother is serving time for her murders as well. And still says, don't tell mama. So casually, so innocently. It's not that big of a deal to Amma. It's like a little white lie. It shows how psychotic Amma really is. And how she's really the one most like Adora, not Camille, like Adora had said earlier in the episode. To me, the last 20 minutes of this finale were extraordinary. Basically, right when the police showed up at Adora's house onward, fantastic. The first 20 minutes were slow as hell. Looking back at the whole season as a whole and the story, there was a ton of bloat, and it's annoying that there was so much bloat for some episodes that were still only 40 minutes, like this one. But it's still a solid finale. A lot of shows have bad finales, especially when it's the end of the show completely. But they killed it in those last 20 minutes. I loved it. So that will raise it up the score, so I'm going to give it a 9.3, the finale. And the season as a whole, I'll give it an 8.8. It was very good. It was great, but I'm not going to run back and watch it again or suggest it as one of those shows you must watch in your lifetime. It's a good watch. If anything, it's mostly watchable for the acting. It is an acting showcase. And that goes from Amy Adams all the way down to Liza Scanlon, who plays Amma. Everyone did great acting here. There wasn't one bad actor on the show. What did you guys think of the finale? And what did you guys think of the season as a whole? I'd love to hear it. I'd also love to hear any questions you guys felt that weren't answered. Or did you feel like they fully satisfied all the mysteries you had in your head? To me, maybe they only hit mostly on the big questions answered, but there definitely is probably stuff you can go back and look and see that you felt wasn't really addressed well. Let me know what you guys catch on that. I'm sure you guys will find a bunch. And were you satisfied with Amma being revealed as the killer? Maybe some people hate that twist. Let me know. Will there be a season 2? I doubt it, especially because Amy Adams costs a lot of money to pay per episode, and this is obviously the end of the book. But you never know with these shows. If it has great ratings and HBO feels like forking out the money, they'll make it happen somehow. So we'll see, but I still doubt it. Please stay with me for more shows. I do a bunch. I do movie reviews. I also do celebrity interviews. You don't want to miss those. I appreciate each one of you, and literally every single comment makes me so happy. I love having you guys on this journey with me and discussing and just enjoying the great age of television we're in. You guys all feel like family to me in a way, so I appreciate every one of you, and I notice all the effort you guys put in to help me with this content and this discussion, so don't think it goes unnoticed. Please follow me at Steve Varley1 for more of me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time.